A very good morning to all of you. After having understood structuralism and post-structuralism, we shall go ahead with the next topic, that is psychoanalysis. This is very important field, and rather this is very important to understand what psychoanalysis is. Psychoanalysis was introduced to us by Sigmund Freud. His full name was Sigmund Skolmo Freud, who was an Austrian neurologist, and he is credited with creating psychoanalytic theory, and its extension is psychiatric therapy. Means whatever we understand as psychiatric therapy today is the gift of Freud, we can say. It was Freud who brought it with his study of psychology, psychoanalytical theory, etc. Freud believed that there is unconscious sexual drive, or there are unconscious sexual drives, which are the basis for all human behavior. Actually, this is Freudian psychology. He believed in this. Actually, he proposed that there is some drive, that is unconscious sexual drive, and that is the basis for all human behavior, whatever. So, again, your knowledge of Sassurian structuralism is very important here. So, of course, we can't say that there was direct relationship between structuralism and psychoanalytical theory, but still you can understand. Structuralism also believes in underlying system, underlying system of language, whereas here Freud is referring to mind and behavior. All human behavior is a kind of parole, whereas unconscious sexual drives is a kind of luck. You can equate structuralism with psychoanalysis. And the dreams, according to him, are an important indicator for understanding human behavior. So he studied dreams. Dreams are important to understand uh, human behavior, why someone behaves like that. Okay, his psychological theory of personality. I'm talking to about Freud's psychoanalytic theory of personality. Argues that human behavior is the result of the interaction among the three component parts of the mind, namely the id, ego, and superego. Okay, whatever human behavior visible to you is the result of the interactions. Okay, the interactions means these are correlated. Everything happens, in coordination of these three levels, these three components. These are the three components of the mind: the id, ego, and superego. And then I actually talked about psychoanalytical therapy. This is a form of in-depth talk therapy. The patient is asked to talk, to express himself or herself. This therapy aims to bring unconscious or deeply buried thoughts and feelings to the conscious mind, so that the repressed experiences, the hidden, repressed, not expressed, and emotions right from childhood can be brought to the surface and examined. So the patient who goes to a psychoanalytic therapist, a psychiatrist, we can say, they generally ask the patient to express, to talk about his past experiences, his childhood, etc. So that the unconscious or deeply buried thoughts or feelings come to the conscious mind. They are brought to the surface and examined. In case of language, you can see that the surface structure is visible, and based on the analysis of the surface structure, you can understand the deeper structure. Similar, in a similar way, psychoanalytical therapy tries to bring out the buried thoughts, which are not otherwise visible. So the conscious mind is the part of the mind that interacts with the outside world. And what is conscious mind? It is the mind which interacts with the outside world. So conscious mind is related to the decisions we make and the actual thinking we do. Whatever is happening now is consciously. It is in on the level of conscious mind, we can say. Everything happens on the conscious level. Then the unconscious mind is made up of the impulses and instinct that dictate our behavior without us knowing about it. We don't know. No, sometimes we say, I don't know exactly what happened to me. Suddenly I did that. So it is the unconscious mind. It is made up of what? The impulses. Impulses means the sudden urge to do something. You feel like doing something and you do it. That is impulse or instinct. We say, na, somebody is impulsive. He is actually he is very instinctive, or she is very instinctive. Yes, acting, without thinking, you can say, doing something suddenly. That is unconscious level. And this unconscious mind dictates our behavior. We are unaware of it. We don't know about it. And according to Freud, Sigmund Freud, these impulses are driven by sexuality, unconscious sexual drive. Is every action of it. I'm not agreeing with him. I'm just talking about Freud's views. Of course, there were many others who oppose this, but we are referring to Sigmund Freud. Therefore, we are talking about his beliefs, his thinking. Freud believed these impulses were driven by sexuality. Every behavior, human behavior, is driven by this. Whereas another psychologist, psychoanalytic critic, we can say, C.J. Jung, Carl Jung. Look at the spelling. It is J-U-N-G, but that J stands for year. C.J. Jung believed that these impulses, unconscious mind, okay, which is made up of the impulses and instinct, and these impulses and instinct are driven by cultural archetypes, not by sexual, unconscious sexual drives. Or it is not driven by sexuality. It is driven by cultural archetypes. Archetypes means you have studied the terms and concepts. Archetype is a kind of image, recurring pattern, you can say, occurring in different cultures. Typical, for example, the rising of the sun, then the zenith and the setting of the sun is associated with life cycle. Natural cycle is also associated with life cycle. Literature, mythology, everything has this archetype. For example, any story has its beginning, middle, and end. So it can be associated with the solar cycle. Sun rises and then there's zenith and then there's the sunset. So this is what he says. Means these are the archetypes are our collective unconscious. Collective means all social, we can say. Collective means of the group, and it is not individual. Freud believed in individual aspects in human behavior, whereas C.J. Jung believed in collective mindset. And apart from this, some other psychologists believe the unconscious mind to be made of drives of power for love, for any other number of impulses. Means whatever we do, whatever our behavior is, our talking, our walking, our crying, whatever, or whatever our achievements, everything according to Freud are the result of the impulses driven by sexuality, whereas for Jung, it they are the result of the cultural archetypes. For other psychologists, the unconscious mind makes the drives of power for love for any other impulses. So this is how it believes in. Then Freud, talks about the three tiers of self. The three tiers means three stage levels, we can say. You tiers, we can say, not tiers exactly. You must be knowing about train journey. In the train journey, you got uh, three tiers, two tiers, etc. First class, second class, and even three tiers AC. Second tiers AC. It's only two compartments are there. So here he talks about three tiers of self, and he broke down the unconscious into three components, which dictate conscious human behavior. Conscious means the seen one. Now, whatever you see, that is conscious. Means whatever we do by knowing, we are aware of what we are doing. That is conscious. The id, the first component is the id. The id seeks pleasure and avoids pain. Okay, the mind which seeks pleasure, there is no one who seeks pain. So we normally associate inborn instincts such as the behaviors of the infant or animal with the id. Inborn means before we know what the world is. Even animals, and the way animals behave, that is the id. Means human beings have to have that component. Newly born children, those who are not exposed to culture and other aspects, social aspects. Even no, we can't say directly, but I'm trying to tell you, means it is free from all kind of restrictions, rules, etc. That mind, and it always try to seek pleasure, it avoids pain. Then the ego seeks to placate the id. Okay, it drives, it stimulates the id, and in a way that would ensure long-term benefits, such as trying to get what the id wants without breaking laws or social standards. For example, you feel like eating something that is natural, that is your id. You are hungry and you feel like eating something. Okay, and then you go and buy that food item by following the rule. So that is the ego. If suppose a child, small baby, sees a food item, a baby who is not exposed to well, suppose uh, the food item is at its hand's distance, what will the baby do? It will take it and direct. Will you do the same? No. You will think. Although suppose you have money, you will buy it. And if you don't have money, You'll suppress, you'll repress your desire, your instinct, your need. Okay, so the ego tries to get the benefits, but it wants without breaking laws or standards, rules, social norms, we can say. So it is a kind of meditator. The ego meditates between the id and reality. It maintains ourselves, how we see ourselves, and wish other to see it. The way we present ourselves, the way we wear clothes. So that is the part of the ego. Then there is another component of mind, that is the super ego. The super ego is just like our conscience. The conscience is our rational side of mind. It is a kind of police which controls your behavior. It punishes misbehavior with feelings of guilt. You feel guilty. Suppose your id makes you commit some mistake. Your ego tells that is not good, but the superego makes you feel guilty for it. You feel bad, you feel happy, whatever feeling you have. Means it punishes misbehave with feelings of guilt. Because the superego is concerned with societal norms. It stands in opposition to the id, exactly opposite to the id. So it is a cultured mind. You know the culture, you know the social rules, and you try to behave accordingly. Okay. This development of an individual superego replaces a parent's discipline gradually. So you talk about, no, my family has nourished me in a well manner. So the superego is your nourishment. The superego is the society you come from. The culture you come from. When you say this is not my culture, that is a part of your superego. Exactly, means the superego is your family discipline, the way your parents have nourished you, the way you have grown up around the people, in the society you belong to, the caste, the religion, all these factors, the culture, everything is a part of the superego that controls your behavior. And the ego is a kind of mediator, means it makes you aware of. You feel like doing something, but the ego tells you, no, you can't do so. Yes, you can do so. Okay. Whereas the superego makes you feel bad for something. When you commit some mistake, you feel bad. That is the part of superego. So there are three levels we understood just now: conscious, pre-conscious, and unconscious. Conscious mind is current contents of your mind that you actively think of. This is a kind of working memory, and it is easily accessed all the time. Means while walking, talking, you are conscious. Pre-conscious means the contents of mind you are not currently aware of. These are thoughts, memories, knowledge, wishes, feelings, etc. But you can access them when needed. When you are alone, you think about something, you remember something, you wish something. So that is pre-conscious. And unconscious are the contents out of your conscious awareness. They are not accessible at all. Okay, these are the processes that actually keep these thoughts from awareness. We say I did it unconsciously. It's not knowing, without knowing. And everything happens because of the conflicts between these things. We may refer them as conflicts of personality components. This conflict between the id, superego, and ego arise in unconscious mind. To be or not to be. Okay, that is the question. Hamlet, for example. And you can't reach it in the unconscious sometimes. Now, for example, it comes out of in various ways. For example, slip of tongue. By mistake, you say something. So it is also referred to as Freudian sleep. The repressed mind, which is unconscious, on the level of unconscious, may appear in the form of dreams. Whatever dreams you see is the result of the conflict. The jokes you share, the jokes you enjoy, the anxiety in your mind, and even the defense mechanism, the way you defend yourself, everything comes from this conflict between the id, superego, and ego in the unconscious mind. Unknowingly, something keeps on happening all the time, and it appears in the form of dreams. Sometimes we fail to understand how the meaning of dream, because it is out of your reach. It happens in the unconscious level. Okay, now in the next part of my discussion, I shall be talking about psychoanalytical literary criticism briefly.